Hi everyone, welcome back to the Navigate Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm Go Local News Editor Kate Nagel. Thanks again for tuning in to kick off your Friday afternoon here in studio. Started with Ray Rickman, then Bob Wickham, and now a familiar face, Joe Wilson Jr. Thank you for coming back in today.
So happy to be here.
I appreciate it. Been all around. This time last year, you were getting ready to be Scrooge.
That is correct.
Taking off to Broadway for The Iceman Cometh, back participating in the Biff Summit, and then now getting ready for a big event on Monday,
Yes.
America 2 2018.
Yes. For the fourth year, we've had this space in our season to provide the community to speak to us and to dictate what they want to talk about. This all started 4 years ago with our work around policing, and we brought back a series of plays from Ferguson, Missouri, called the Every 28-Hour Plays, and we produced those plays the first year. And the second year we did them again because our national partners were all doing it for the first time that year, and so we expanded that conversation to include, we brought the 1 Minute Play Festival here, and we curated conversations in our community and wrote our own plays around policing. And last year, the third year, we wanted to keep this thing going because what we saw was how energized that made our space. We spend so much time trying to figure out how to get different bodies into our spaces that transcend class and race and gender, and it was an extraordinarily dynamic evening. And what made it dynamic was we were talking about an issue that people were really passionate about and had feelings about, and so we thought, well, let's every year find a way to allow the community to tell us what they would like to speak about. And so last year, in the course of the presidential campaign, I thought, well, why don't we coin this thing America 2, T-O-O, because we're having robust discussions around who is America, who belongs in America, what is the American dream. And we really didn't have a topic that third year until the repeal of DACA.
Okay.
And then that opened up, we did then a play reading and a discussion on immigration. And so this year's America 2, over the course of this year, we've been doing some incredible work as a result of last year's Christmas Carol. We invited dozens of community organizations to be a part of that evening. And from that, other organizations have been looking at that work and saying, hey, how can we be a part of that? And so DARE, Direct Action for Rights and Equality, came to us and said, how can we partner? Well, over a series of conversations over the year, they're continuing to work on the major initiatives around affordable housing here in Providence. So that became a natural fit for us in terms of highlighting their work in America too, but also I think showing the many faces that represent the housing crisis in Providence. And I just actually came from a Housing Works release of their fact book about housing in the state, and one of the tips that were given to us is not to use the word crisis, because that tends to put people off in a world that there's so many crises happening in the course of a 24-hour news cycle. But we use the word crisis because I think that sometimes we think of a housing crisis or housing problem as being something that's uniquely confined to the homeless. And we know how we've traditionally used other and homelessness as that's not my problem, that's not about me. But I think what we know in a city like Providence is that many of us are one paycheck or one rent hike away from not being able to afford our homes. You talk about students, young professionals, changing demographics on the West End, in Onlyville. And so there's this shifting happen that we have for a long time viewed as progress, but that progress often comes at the expense of other folks in the community. And so it's going to be a robust discussion. We've had 4 workshops with the DARE members, along with our playwrights, and we have written plays about the housing crisis here in Providence. Those plays will be presented on Monday night at Trinity Rep at 7 p.m., followed by a panel discussion. There'll be food trucks. Our concessions are open. It's just going to be an exciting event because these stories are so dynamic and they so cross boundaries that we try and put in place sometimes to not deal with the problem. But if we let everyone know that this problem touches our neighbors and our friends in really urgent ways. So we're excited, we're happy to welcome the community, and we're hoping that folks will join us at 7 p.m.
And you talk about partnering with DARE. We've had them many times in here talking about housing issues and always appreciate their coming in. But even on Monday, the community can still come and get really involved in this. So you talk about having had the workshops with DARE, having talked about the plays, but really it's bigger and bringing in the community even on Monday to expand that even further.
Well, to give you an example, and I hope Chris from DARE doesn't mind me telling the story, and even Barbara from Rhode Island Housing, who I know from this work, I wanted to assemble a group of people in the room who who were stakeholders, all stakeholders in this event. And it wasn't necessarily trying to provide a voice to those who have had voices before in this debate, but partnering with DARE to provide a voice to an organization that has been at this work for a very long time, but to give them an extra boost in terms of their voice. And Chris wanted us to reach out to other members of the community that at times they have gone head to head with. And so I'm proud to say that the theater has been able to act as a bridge between many of these folks who have been in the trenches for a very long time. And it's important to say, too, that as an organization of privilege, we don't come into this debate or into this issue knowing, espousing what our values are on this issue. We're simply acting as a platform and using our privilege to elevate all sides of this issue, specifically those of DARE, but to provide a space where we can have an open dialogue around these issues. And so, of course, Chris kids me, and he says, in 1 second, and of course, Barbara's listening. She'll say, 1 minute, Chris is throwing, dollar bills at me with my face on it, and the next minute, and she laughs about it and says, the fact that a woman's on the bill, and we laugh about that. But my point is that this theater is acting as creating these wonderful constructive collisions between people. And so the room promises to be a wide representation of folks who have a stake in this issue. And to me, that's part of the work of the theater, providing a space, a public square, for people to come together and to see reflections of themselves through the stories of others. And I think, that's another way that Rhode Island Housing has talked, we all talk about, or Housing Works. It's making a human connection between a housing crisis. It isn't their problem, it's our problem.
No, this sounds like a fantastic event on Monday for the entire community. Again, using the lens, using the opportunity for the Trinity Rep to be able to provide that platform for people to come in and tell their stories. And you talk about having a diverse array of viewpoints. I can't think of a more important time than now, especially in the realm of social media, political activism, when people tend to sort of get entrenched, to bring those different voices around the table that, as you said, might have gone head to head in the community, but to look at the community as a bigger entity at large. Now, let's talk a little bit nuts and bolts. Starts at 5 on Monday, correct?
Well, I'll just give you the full schedule.
Yeah.
At 4 o'clock, our directors are showing up, and at that point, we'll talk about the logistics of the space. That's not open to the public.
Okay.
At 5 o'clock, our actors show up, and so you understand how this is all going to work. They will have literally 2 hours of rehearsal. They will show up, they get the plays, they go off into the theater space, they read the plays, they rehearse the plays as much as they can. There's no costumes and lights, it's lights up, lights down, music stands. It's all about the stories, all about the plays. At 7 o'clock, about 6:45, we'll be led into the space by What Cheer and also by the Tenderloin Opera Company. And at 7 o'clock, the show will begin. And we'll start with the presentation of these plays by actors we've invited into the space just that day. And so in every way, it's not about us sort of putting on a production, so to speak. It's about highlighting these stories and then using the stories as a platform to begin a conversation around these issues. And so the show will start at 7 proper. If you get there early, I would recommend that, because this event always gets pretty full quickly. We will have a viewing in the lobbies as well. Again, there are food trucks and all kinds of things to snack on while you're watching the show. And then after the show, we'll have a discussion, a moderated panel discussion. And so please come and bring friends. And I even say this, is like, we have folks who find themselves coming to the event and standing in the lobby and making new friends. And so it's a great way to meet people who are not only passionate about these issues, but it's a great way to discover other folks who you have other ways that you intersect as a community. And to me, that's what is the power of these events as well. Yes, we're coming together to talk about the housing crisis, but I think people who take out their time to come to these events, you will find something else in them that you have in common, some other partnership that you can form that can affect some other issue that you're passionate about, or whatever. It's about providing a space for people to come in, and it's eye contact, a handshake, and it's these casual but purposeful collisions of people that can be, and these tiny seeds of careful, of one-on-one contact. That this is the hard work of community building. We want to kind of put a magic wand and say it's Congress and say it's a president or say it's the mayor or say it's our state house, but it's really about getting back to one-on-one, forcing ourselves into spaces to have a one-on-one relationship with someone. And that's what the theater does. And thank God we make you turn off your phones.
Well, I appreciate the role that you're playing, the role that Trinity Rep's playing in this community building. Again, now the 4th year with America 2. On Monday, we'll provide plenty of links to give you some more information if you're going to watch this after the fact. Joe Wilson Jr., thank you so much.
Thank you so
I appreciate you
much.
taking the time to come in.
Thanks for your support.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here in the Navigate Credit Union Broadcast Center. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm Go Local News Editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for joining us this Friday afternoon here in studio, kicking off with Ray Rickman, followed by Bob Whitcomb and Joe Wilson Jr. from Trinity Rep, talking about Monday's America 2 2018 event, focusing on housing here in the community and how he envisions that evening playing out. Be sure to tune in and catch us next Monday when Business Monday and RI Small Biz Fuel is back in studio. But of course, catch us over the weekend at golocalprov.com and find us on Facebook. We look forward to seeing you back here.